Welcome back to another episode or session, I guess, in this view from the pew that we've been doing over the time of the pandemic restrictions. You know, among other things, this period of time has allowed me and probably many of you to do some extra reading. And one book that I just finished reading the other day was entitled A House in the Sky. And basically it's a true story of Amanda Lindholt, who's a photojournalist from Alberta. And in the early part of the 2010s, she visited many countries in the world that were in the midst of civil wars, places like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, parts of Pakistan, that were very dangerous destinations to visit. And she eventually made what turned out to be a very unfortunate decision in 2008 to visit the country of Somalia. Now, Somalia is a country on the east coast of Africa, and basically it is a failed state. There's very little government there, and the country is mostly run by extremist Islamic militias. And shortly after she had arrived in Mogadishu, the capital of Somalia, she and a Australian photographer were kidnapped by one of these extremist groups. And for the next 463 days, she was subjected to the worst kind of torment, being repeatedly physically and sexually abused, confined to long periods of time in isolation, and usually confined to places that were a very horrible environment. She was constantly under the threat of death unless her family could come up with the ransom of $2 million that her captors had demanded. And the mental anguish that went along with all of this was almost equally intolerable, making death either by execution or suicide almost a welcome alternative. What provided, however, a ray of hope for her during this time was expressed in her own words. I'd like to share them with you. I conjured my father's laugh and my mother's cooking, the stars in the sky over Sylvan Lake, Alberta. I made peace with anyone who might have ever been an enemy. I asked forgiveness for every vain or selfish thing I had done in my life. Inside the house in the sky, all the people I loved sat down for a big holiday meal. I was safe and protected. It was where the voices that normally tore through my head expressing fear and wishing for death went silent, until there was only one left speaking. It was a calmer, stronger voice, one that to me felt divine. It said, "See, you are okay, Amanda. It's only your body that's suffering, and you are not your body. The rest of you is fine." Now, I share that story, I guess, to remind myself more than anyone that what most of us are experiencing during this time is merely more of an inconvenience compared to what Amanda went through over those many, many months of her captivity. Just reading the story was in itself a painful experience. But it made me put more things into perspective. It's unfortunate that things like kidnappings and pandemics have to be the reason for us to wake up to untold blessings that we feel we're entitled to. But the good news is that it leaves us with a greater sense of gratitude and generosity in how we live our lives. Oh yes, in the years after her release, Amanda went on to take a diploma course in international development leadership through the Coady Institute at St. Francis Xavier University in Nova Scotia. And later she founded the Global Enrichment Foundation, which is a non-profit organization to help support children's education in Somalia, that country where she had experienced the most traumatic experiences of her life. And the organization is geared to help young girls and women to complete their education. It partners with other organizations that will help bring change to the country of Somalia, perhaps maybe even to some of the young men who were her very captors. Amanda didn't start out looking for God. Fortunately, God found her, and that made all the difference. So, what about you and me? When this time passes, when it will eventually, what new awarenesses will it have brought into your life and mine? And how will God find us?